how's it going? Hey, it's Julian Mon Hadas, and I'm coming up with the new web series called The Forum. Check it out, because all kinds of artists, musicians, cool people. I'm gonna try to get some politicians on. I got this one guy that I met at the Avon movie theater here in Stamford, Connecticut. He said he's gonna come up and he's gonna talk about politics. What gets you motivated for politics, and I know you're into arts as well and different stuff like that.
I guess I got into politics with the Gulf War. I was kind of like, I guess my perspective was pretty much the mainstream perspective, Democrat, Republican. But when I saw how the government was behaving and how it was expressing outright lies to attack a country, then I really sort of awakened a bit about what was going on and started questioning things and just reading a lot. And at the same time, I found out about community-based radio like WBAI in New York and how they were covering the events. Somebody told me about the station, and to this day, I really don't listen to any kind of other radio. I don't have any patience for commercial radio anymore. And I was working part-time at UConn in North Stamford at the bursar's office. And I finally got a full-time job. I'd studied communication in college and have part-time jobs and internships, and eventually got into a job in trade publishing. I was there for about 7 years. Goals Business Media, it was called at the time. And that was kind of a treat because I'm sort of an information junkie. And I happened to land in a really sweet spot in trade publishing. I worked for a magazine that is the publishing magazine that people that publish magazines read to manage their publications and reach out to readers and advertisers. So as a result, we used to get bins from various magazines for different specialties, like a magazine for people that run a hair salon, magazines that run funeral homes, magazines that, commercial magazines like sports magazines and stuff. And I started seeing a lot of interesting patterns. Like, for instance, there'd be a magazine for the wood industry. Like, say, a magazine having to do with environmental preservation. You'd see one month there'd be an article with an op-ed piece about President Clinton saying how he was committed to opposing clear cutting. Then we get a trade magazine from the same month, which is actually for the lumber industry, and you'd see that, that month or the month later, he'd be speaking to that audience, talking about how he's in fact is committed to clear cutting. So they'd be telling different stories to different audiences, and they're counting on the fact that the two audiences never get together. Where I was at, this magazine Folio, it all came together, and it came to my mailbox like 3 times a week or something. It was great.
But all kinds of stuff is going down. It's called The Forum. I'm gonna open up a YouTube channel, a Vimeo channel. I'm gonna go on Instagram. I'm gonna try to take that over. You know what I mean? But man, I'm over here. I'm only got a little bit of time left in Stamford, so I'm jumping on the ball. I'm meeting people, and I'm gonna get my name out there, and it's gonna be called The Forum. You could look for it.
And I think there's a difference between union and non-union actors, where if you're union, you're getting paid a much higher pay scale than non-union actors. So there's more competition there to make sure you get the role. Whereas if it's non-union, you don't get paid so much. Community theatre, you're lucky if you get paid. It's far more collaborative and open, as you say.
And I think too, the experience that you can't, even if you're not getting paid in community theater, some of the experience that you can get is so valuable. I've had some directors that really took me under their wing and helped me so much as far as acting and getting to another level.
Yeah, me too.
So it's definitely a very, I think that's a great resource.
So would you say Connecticut is is it up and coming? Is it thriving right now, or is
it's thriving. Thriving. There's when I came here, I had no idea that there is so many theaters all throughout Connecticut, community theaters, and there is so much. There's so much being filmed here too, and not only Connecticut, but like Rhode Island, Massachusetts. It's just
It's all over the place.
yeah. Web series going on.
And that I think is coming up, whereas before it used to be like the TV or film, but now with the sort of software and lenses you can get on cameras and on phones, so much more can be done as a web series by really independent filmmakers. They have an idea, they get a script, get their friends together, or put out notices and get some actors to come along and audition. You can make films, web series, really cheaply.
There's some people that are filming it, they're doing it all on their iPhones.
Yeah.
And it looks really good.
So I was able to find out things that I heard on the radio that sounded crazy, but I was able to confirm it by interviewing people for different magazines. And so this was around 1999. They were starting to downsize, so I was fixing to go to Canada and shift careers. I was interested in computer modeling and animation. However, I had an interview for a newsletter called Turning Points, and it's a type of newsletter that's inserted into other magazines. So this was a magazine for people working in the financial sector, and I had to do a little article explaining the magazine, what its purpose was, what its target audience was, its circulation size, all this sort of stuff. But in order to talk intelligently to these people, they would have to explain to me, give me a crash course in their industry. So I learned about the packing industry, I've learned about the meat packing industry, I learned about different things, and then I knew what questions to ask them. And that's what was going on with this magazine. So this guy was talking about this great new synergy that's come about in the government because of the deregulation of the financial markets. I says, well, what are you talking about? I says, well, see, Turning Point is a magazine for people that work in the insurance industry, and it's a magazine that work in banks, like commercial banks. And this is to help somebody in the insurance industry how to manage their business, to offer banking services to their customers as well as insurance services, and it helps the bankers to offer insurance services to their bank customers. And this used to not be, it wasn't possible before. He says, well, that's interesting. So why was it possible for? Well, when the Glass-Steagall Act had been repealed, or it was about to be repealed, and they were positioning themselves to take advantage of this. And so it's great. It's all this great synergy. You kept using the word synergy. So I said, it's a great opportunity because, now we can have all these services across the board, different financial industries. I said, so, well, if this is such a great thing, why is it used to be prohibited? He says, well, because they introduced the Glass-Steagall Act because this kind of thing used to be the norm, but that's what helped cause the stock market crash. It caused the depression. But don't print that. And this kept happening to me again and again. I would interview people, and they would, in specialized magazines, and I would ask them questions, and they wouldn't. Sometimes they didn't even know what they were talking about. Like one time, I did an article about a magazine for people that work at the Federal Reserve districts or different Federal Reserve districts throughout the country. So I learned that Federal Reserve is actually a consortium of banks, commercial banks, that control the economy for the benefit of the private sector. It's actually unconstitutional to have a central bank like this.
Paula, this is my room in Stamford, Connecticut. This is my room, Stamford, Connecticut.